Have you ever been scrolling on Instagram or TikTok and realized there are a disproportional amount of influencers that have nice vehicles? And I'm not talking about a standard Lamborghini Huracan or other $250,000 vehicle. I'm talking about how do so many of these people have cars that reach up to $3 million? So how do they get it? Are their course and sponsors really just making them that much money? Well, the answer is not that simple. We'll break it down in this video. For those who don't know me, my name is Nick. I own Velocity Exotic Cars, which is a rental car company for exotic and high-end luxury vehicles here in the Los Angeles area. I've been in the automotive industry since I was 18 years old, working with brands like Lamborghini, Ferrari, Porsche, McLaren, and BMW, as well as local and nationally known dealerships and exotic rental car companies. Before understanding how they do this, we need to talk about why they do this in the first place. Pretty much every influencer will say they do this for one of two reasons. First is to obviously build credibility. If you have a $3 million car and you're trying to sell a product or a course, people will simply believe you more and believe that your product or course will help them. The second is to attract more attention and more views. With influencers, views is money. The more eyes on them, the more clicks, the more views. Even if they're not selling you something, they are still profiting off of you. This gives them a reason to see these vehicles as a sort of investment and not a liability. Sounds easy and simple enough on paper, but now the question is, how are they actually getting this car? Are they paying cash for it? The answer to that is almost certainly no. Even if they are rich enough to just send a $3 million wire, most of them don't do this, and that is because these cars take forever to sell. It could take months and sometimes years to sell these super niche vehicles of upwards of $2 to $3 million. This means they're tying up $3 million into a vehicle they can't quickly sell. These cars are not like normal cars or even like supercars. I could take one of these two cars behind me, either the 812 or the GT3 RS, go to a dealership, get an instant cash offer, and leave with money in my bank the same day. A lot of these $1 million cars, nobody is buying them straight up. Most of them are going on consignment. Real quick, for those who don't know what consignment is, it's usually pretty simple. The owner will go to a dealership, tell them the amount they want for the car. The dealership will not wire them for the car. Instead, they will take the car, put it on the website like it's an inventory piece, and usually they get a kickback of 5 to 10%, so that's how the dealership profits on that. They don't write a check for the customers, they don't wire the customers, they never take the risk of buying the car. They simply act as a middleman for the buyer and the current owner of the vehicle, and they get their cut. This means they are taking almost no liability. They do not have to front all that money to the owner of the car. They don't have to pay costly monthly interest on floor plan deals. And if the car never sells, they can just give it back to the owner and they don't have to deal with the headache of all that lost value. The next reason they don't buy cash is pretty simple. Influencers do not have steady income, and a lot of them know this. Their income can fluctuate greatly depending on the month and any controversies surrounding them. This also leads to why they don't just traditionally finance a car, which would be the logical option. Because their monthly income is so sporadic, and because a lot of these guys are brand new into money, the bank simply does not trust them with a loan, especially not one of that size. As stated in my previous video on a topic similar to that, which by the way, if you haven't watched that video, I'll make sure to leave it in the description and a card at the end of this video. But essentially, financing a vehicle is hard. You have a lot of barriers to entry. You need good credit, you need good income, and you need good history. A lot of these influencers simply don't have that due to age or due to how quick they came into money. Simply put, these influencers want as little legal attachment to that vehicle as possible. Buying a car cash or financing it is hard, and even if they could do it, that's a big risk on their part as they're locking up a lot of money and a lot of credit into that car. So if they aren't buying cash and they aren't financing, how are they acquiring these vehicles? If you check under the comment section for a lot of these influencers, pretty much everyone will say it's a rental or it's a lease. And while this is basically true, it's not the full picture on how they're getting these vehicles. Most influencers are acquiring these one of four ways. Either a private party lease, a track lease, a partnership structure, or a specialized dealer lease. Let's start with a private party lease. This is essentially an agreement between the owner of a car and the creator. This could also fall under a month-to-month or long-term lease with a rental car company. Essentially, the influencer will go to the individual or the rental car company and say, I need a car for X amount of months. They'll pay monthly. They don't have to do a down payment or anything like that. It's just a simple $18,000, $20,000, $25,000, depending on the vehicle, and boom, they have a car in their hands for a set amount of time. The title stays in the original owner or company's name, so the influencer has no direct ties to this. The owner will then usually limit them in terms of miles or where they can actually go with this vehicle. At the end of the agreed upon time, the creator simply just returns the vehicle as if it were a lease. No equity built in the car, no additional money needed. These agreements are usually 3 months, 6 months, or 1 year long, and they rarely require proof of income or credit checks, which is why it's so easy for an influencer with a lot of money to just go and get a car from a rental car company. Next is a track style lease. Track stands for Terminal Rental Adjustment Clause. This is basically just a lease agreement that offers low monthly payments and easier approval, with the downside being you can't simply walk away from the lease like a dealership lease. You basically have to pay the residual out of pocket at the end of the lease. The way this works is you'll get a car. Again, the monthly payments will usually be lower, usually 10 to 15% lower. However, there's a residual just like a standard lease. That's basically the agreed upon value of the vehicle after the lease term. Once your term ends, you either have to pay that money out of your own pocket to keep the vehicle, or you have to sell the car. If you sell the car and the car is worth more than that residual, then you get to keep the difference. If the car is worth less, you'll have to pay the difference out of your own pocket. Most track leases are not short-term though. They're usually 3 years to 5 years. Some may even stretch 7 years. So this definitely is not a 3 or 6 month way to get into a car unless they are doing a 3-year lease and ending the lease early and buying the car out through the sale of the vehicle, which is 100% possible. Third way is a partnership structure. This is basically where an investor gives the influencer money for a car or a car straight up, but does not take money up front. They front the influencer the car, and the influencer agrees to pay the investor a percentage of revenue drawn from either their course, their product, or from videos made directly with the vehicle. The benefit to the influencer is obvious. They get a car with absolutely zero upfront cost. However, they are losing a percentage of their revenue, whether that be the product or their videos. This means if they make a lot of money with the car, the investor usually makes a lot more money compared to if the investor had just taken a base monthly payment similar to the first way. After the agreed upon time, the investor simply takes their vehicle back. They'll usually get paid out the depreciation plus running costs of the car, and usually anywhere from 10 to 20% interest on top of that. So they're making a hefty payday. They then can sell the car and buy the influencer a different one, or they just take the car, sell it off, and get their money back. The final way is easily the most talked about way on social media, and that's specialized dealership agreements. Pretty much everyone online discusses how the same 3 dealerships end up giving influencers cars, and after 3 to 6 months, the car ends up back in their inventory and away from the influencer. This is very prevalent in major cities, especially Miami, where you see this all the time. This agreement works similar to the first one. The influencer will go in, they'll usually be required to give a down payment, which is the one major difference, and then they'll have subsequent monthly payments on top of that. They'll also have restrictions like miles and where they can go. However, depending on the influencer, they might even be restricted on things like going on the highway, and yes, that is serious. The main benefit to the dealership, besides the down payment and besides the monthly payment, which is significant on interest, is the fact that after 6 months, the dealership simply gets that car back and they can do another lease on it, or they can just sell the car to a customer for the full retail price, meaning that profit from the influencer was 100% pure profit that essentially was paid for by the next owner. The main benefit to the influencer is they build a relationship with the dealership who can source them rare and specific cars. However, it is way more expensive than renting a car through someone like us, as they usually require a hefty down payment. Now let's break down what it would cost if you were an influencer trying to get a $3 million car from a specialized dealership lease. This would usually require a down payment of anywhere from $350,000 to $600,000 up front. Your monthly payments would then be somewhere between $40,000 and $60,000 per month. Also only get about 500 to 1,000 miles per month on a specialized dealer lease. This means to own the car and drive it as little as 6,000 miles, it would cost an influencer anywhere between $600,000 and $1 million for 6 months. If we want to break that down monthly, it's going to cost them anywhere between $100,000 and $166,000 per month. And those who want to go even further and see how much they're spending per mile driven, they would essentially be somewhere in the $100 to $200 per mile driven, a significant cost compared to renting the car, where they would be somewhere between $8 and $12 per mile. Now, I'm pretty sure some influencers profit massively and gain huge credibility from a car like this. However, you do have to stop and think, is $1 million for 6 months really worth it when there are significantly cheaper options, such as renting a car through Velocity Exotic Cars? This also in no way means that the influencer is broke or doesn't have money, and that's why they're doing this lease. It's actually the opposite. They are overpaying tremendously for a lease like this. So what do you guys think? Are influencers making a smart business decision by leveraging $3 million cars and spending upwards of $1 million every 6 months on one? Or do you think this is a giant waste of money and it's just fake flexing cars for clout? Let me know in the comments below. Make sure to like and subscribe for more automotive related content like this.